Hello dear listeners, and welcome back to my cozy little corner of the internet. My name is Sarah Ashworth, and in the previous episode, Jasper survived his terrifying ordeal. In today's episode, we shall continue this intriguing story. So, grab your favourite beverage, sit back, relax, and I shall begin. Chapter 6. Reflections of the Past. Jasper, there you are! Young Eric ran towards his friend who was sitting on a rusted swing in the backyard. I've got something to tell you. Jasper perked up from his dull and rhythmic swinging. He had heard that potential adopted parents had pulled out again, as they wanted a younger child. It hurt a lot. Rejection was always hard. But he always held out hope that someone would come along and adopt him. Eric lowered his head. He sensed that Jasper was feeling upset about something, despite his best efforts to hide it. Are you okay? You seem upset. Yeah, another set of parents dropped out. They said they were looking for a younger kid. Jasper explained rather glumly as he moved his feet backwards and forwards to swing a little. I'm sorry, Jasper. I know you really wanted to be adopted, but I'm sure there are others. Eric spoke, trying his best to sound reassuring, but he wasn't sure if that helped much. Jasper let out a weak laugh. Yeah, I'm sure there are, until a much younger and better kid comes along. We're only 8. Plenty of time yet. It's sweet of you to care, Jasper stated before he dragged his feet along the ground to stop the swing. Anyway, you wanted to tell me something? Eric nodded. The eager smile was back on his face. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that I got adopted. Jasper blinked as he stared at Eric. His voice caught in his throat, unable to get any words out. Jasper? Are you okay? Eric asked. His smile faded upon seeing Jasper's reaction. Did he say something wrong? I'm sorry if I said something wrong. I know you're sad right now. Jasper was silent for the longest time. On the one hand, he knew that he had to be happy for Eric. He was his friend after all. Friends were always happy for each other's successes. But on the other hand, Eric's upcoming adoption meant that the chances of them seeing each other again were slim. It doesn't have to be goodbye, Jasper, Eric spoke, though his words seemed to fade from existence for Jasper. The ginger-haired boy still stared in front of him in stunned silence. We can always keep in touch. Those last words echoed in his mind, and he gritted his teeth as he clenched his fists in anger. No, we can't, he blurted out as he turned and glared at Eric. As soon as you leave, you'll forget all about me. It's how it works. Jasper, I won't ever forget you. I promise. No. Don't make a promise that you won't keep. Just leave me alone. Go be with your new family. He jumped off the swing and ran off back inside, fighting back the tears of losing his friend. Jasper's eyes slowly opened. He winced at the clinical white light above him. He raised his hands instinctively to shield his eyes. He quickly lowered them as he felt a hand touch his arm. He looked over and saw his mother sitting on a chair beside him. How long was I out? A while, she told him, trying to keep her voice as even as possible, though she was happy and relieved that he was all right. But it must have been some dream you had. Huh? Jasper uttered. He was clearly confused by what his mother had said. You talked quite a bit in your sleep. What was it about? Jasper shook his head. Something that happened a while ago. Something that involved your friend Eric? He's not my friend. And how did you know? You said his name a lot. It sounds like you two were close. Years ago, maybe, Jasper whispered as he slowly sat up. His mother helped him and adjusted his pillows. Now? I don't think so. He lowered his head as his mother listened sympathetically. Do you know where he is? His mother shook her head. No, I haven't seen him around. My main concern was you, she answered him honestly as she gently ruffled his hair. Why'd you ask? He thought for a moment as he remembered the flash of red he saw in the water. Could it be? Was it Eric that saved him? No, that wouldn't make much sense. Why would Eric save him after the way he was treated? It was possible that he was hallucinating. He didn't say a word about it to his mother. She had enough on her plate already without him giving her more reasons to worry. I was pretty horrible to him, he admitted as he looked up guiltily. I guess I just wanted to find him and make it up to him. And you can, once you've rested, his mother told him as he groaned. I'm serious, you almost drowned. Doctor said you're lucky to not suffer any ill effects, but they still want to keep you in for at least 24 hours to make sure. Jasper huffed at that, but it wasn't like he had a choice. Fine, but no more than 24 hours. I hate not being able to do anything. His mother was about to say something before a police officer entered the room and approached. "Miss Ashford?" he called out to her as she turned and nodded. "That's me. What can I do for you, officer?" "One of your colleagues with the Coast Guard told me you were here. May I have a private word with you?" She nodded as she stood up. "Of course," she responded as she looked back at Jasper. "I won't be long," she told him as she turned around and followed the officer outside, closing the door behind them. Jasper lay back down, trying to relax. It was a stressful time for him, and it seemed like he did need that time to just switch off. He closed his eyes and started to drift off to sleep, only to open his eyes again as he could hear a faint conversation outside the door. He could not fully hear what was said, and against his better judgment, he slowly climbed out of bed and crept over to the door and listened in as best he could. "I wish I could say I was surprised," he heard his mother say. She sounded oddly calm considering she was talking to a police officer. "But in my line of work, it's something that can happen. The body is bloated and is decaying so fast it's hard to determine just how long it's been out there for." The police officer sounded calm and professional, which made sense considering it was his job. However, upon hearing that, Jasper stepped back from the door, a little horrified. He placed a hand over his mouth to stop himself from crying out as he continued to listen. "We did recover some debris a few days ago. It's possible that the two events are related," his mother spoke up, letting out a soft sigh. "I'm not sure I really want my son to know this after everything that has happened." She wouldn't admit it to Jasper, but for the last few days she had been afraid, ever since the first time she found him unconscious on the beach and took him home. The fact that he almost drowned was horrifying to her. Jasper took a few deep breaths to calm himself down after hearing the conversation. The body had washed up a few days after Eric did, and it was around that time that he heard the strange voice at night. Eric was at least involved in all of this. He wondered if the police connected the dots too, but probably not. Why would they? They never met Eric in person. To them he was a victim too. He had made up his mind. He was going to find Eric and get to the bottom of it one way or another. Based on what he was hearing on the other side of the door, it was safe to say that his mother wouldn't be coming back any time soon. However, she was still just outside the room. Sneaking past her wasn't an option. He made his way back towards his bed and pulled the curtain and looked out the window. There wasn't much of a drop at all. He could easily climb out the window, and the flower bed underneath pushing his landing. He looked at his bed and made several hand gestures towards it. After a moment, a replica of himself materialized on the bed. Jasper took a deep breath. He was still exhausted after his near-drowning experience, and this was a new spell that he had tried. "Well, it looks okay, as long as no one gets too close. Or try to talk to it," he commented as his duplicate lay there, completely unmoving. He would have to learn to make a walking and talking replica, but for now this would have to do. He pulled the bedcovers over it before he opened the window and climbed out of it, landing on the flower bed. "Okay, time to find Eric before the police do." Jasper started to walk around town asking the locals if they had seen a red-haired boy around. The people he asked shook their heads and regretfully told him that they didn't see anyone fitting that description. Jasper grew increasingly frustrated, but he couldn't give up. He had many questions to ask, and the only one who could potentially answer him hadn't been seen. Jasper had made his way to the beach and looked around, keeping his distance from the shoreline. Maybe someday he would have the courage to approach again, but not now. Eric wasn't there either, which surprised him. From what he had heard and from what he saw the other day, Eric went to this place frequently. He took a deep breath and walked further along the beach until he saw a hill leading up to an old lighthouse. The lighthouse was defunct, had been for years, though at one time it was used to safely guide ships to the docks. Even though it was no longer used, it was still a part of the town. He walked up the hill, spotting the peeling paint and general disrepair of the lighthouse. "It's definitely seen better days," he thought to himself as he reached the top of the hill and looked around. The grass was overgrown, and the old lighthouse had cobwebs in every nook and cranny. The place was abandoned, and no one had taken care of or maintained it for years. But it was the only place that he hadn't searched. He looked around, hoping that he didn't have to go inside. He reached his hand out when he reached the door to open it, when out of the corner of his eye, he spotted vibrant red hair near the edge of the cliff, overlooking the sea. He stepped away from the door. There was only one person he knew who had hair like that. "Eric?" he called out softly as he approached. That is the end of today's episode. I just want to give a brief shout out to you all for staying with me so far. I hope you've been enjoying Sirensong as much as I have, though the ordeal is far from over. Jasper just escaped from the hospital, and so he's a little unprepared, but you don't need to be. With the Sirensong podcast thermal tumbler, you're prepared to tackle anything at any time of the day, be it a hot coffee to keep you awake for an all-nighter, or a colder drink to keep you refreshed for the long day ahead. Only in my Etsy shop. The link is in the author's note for easy access. As for Jasper and Eric, let's hope these two can put their differences to one side and work together to deal with the threat of the Sirensong before it consumes both of them.